What's up, guys? We got a really special guest with us today, Justin Prim. He does some videos on YouTube, and he's an amazing gem cutter. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm just about to hit my 10-year anniversary of gem cutting. Aside from just cutting, I've been kind of traveling all around the world, meeting gem cutters, because I want to learn from the masters.
That's awesome. I heard you brought us some really cool things today.
Yeah, I brought some goodies, so.
Why don't we jump right in? Whoa! Oh my gosh. That is big. That is huge. Wow. Check that out.
So it has some interesting properties, and obviously it's huge, and it has a kind of eccentric look.
It's an amazing cut.
Thank you. So this is meant to be a historically accurate old mine cut. So this is something that we would have seen.
I see it now, yeah.
Back in the 1850s.
I'm noticing the culettes kind of cut off at the bottom there. I'm noticing the crown's got a little more elevation to it from the girdle.
Yeah, it's quite tall compared to what we would see today. So this is color change xandrite.
Oh, okay, xandrite, yeah.
So this will change from kind of a violety purple lavender color to a sort of a cinnamony red color.
Yeah, okay, we got the...
Yeah, you can kind of see the...
got a lavender,
and then a little bit more of kind of a...
It's like a...
reddish orangish.
So xandrite is it's a form of color changed glass. It was created by JTV. Gosh, like how big was the rough for this?
It was kind of like a sheet of paper. I mean, I would say it's like an 8.5 by 11 sheet about this thick. It was huge. It's heavy too. It's kind of a heavy material.
I can feel the heft of the gemstone itself is quite hefty.
If you're used to seeing brilliant stones, this has the similar pattern, but it's totally different. It's got the culet facet, but also these 8 main facets down here are really thick. They're really fat. It's a totally different proportion than what we would use today.
What exactly is a culet?
Normally when we say culet today, the culet means the point where all of the facets meet on the bottom for a brilliant stone. But in this case, this historical version, it's a culet facet. So I've actually just flattened that part so there's no point anymore. So when you flip it over and see the actual reflection pattern, it's really chunky and there's a lot of big flashes of color. This was something that we see a lot in the old stones. They weren't taking the time or losing the weight in order to cut down a diamond to get the perfect shape. You know, what I was trying to express here was like a charming look.
Yeah.
You know, the outline pattern is not perfectly symmetrical. The facets are not perfectly balanced the way that we would today. So this is an exercise for me as a cutter in not being perfect.
Let's see. It's a box within a box.
So this one, it's not about the box, it's about...
Whoa!
So we're talking about historical cuts, so I thought I would bring in a sample to show you of what some of these historical cuts look like. These are all CZ. This is specifically the story of diamond cutting. If we go back to the beginning, we might see something like this. This is the octahedral form that diamonds grow in. So in the Renaissance, they would have just taken this perfect form when they found it, and they would actually just set it in a ring. Exactly.
Just like that?
Just like that. At this point, they don't really know too much about cutting, and the first thing that they figure out is that there's a cleavage plane, right? Because diamonds have a perfect cleavage plane. So if you just basically chop the top off by chiseling it, you've got a table cut.
Yep.
So if we look at it from the side view, you can see the top is just chopped off. It's the same square, same 4 sides, but now there's a table. It's not sparkly brilliant the way that we would see today because it's such big facets, but it's just like hugely reflective. And then when we go to the next one, again, it's a very small transition. This is called the mirror cut. So by this point, we can tell that they understand about optics a little bit because they're calling it that. They figured out that if they cut the bottom at certain angles, it's becoming like a mirror. And so the only difference here, other than the culet facet, as you said, is just proportions. The table's bigger, the bottom is just slightly at a different angle to give you a bit of a better reflection. But it does have that interesting optical illusion where you've got those 4, what we call now virtual facets. It's basically the light going in, it's hitting the corner, and the corner is bouncing into the other corner, and then bouncing back, and then bouncing back. So far, in the first 5, everything looks square, right? Suddenly,
we're getting a little more geometry.
Yeah, they've figured out that they can soften the edges and make a cushion shape. Now this is great for them because let's say that the corner's chipped off a little bit. Instead of reducing the size
the whole thing
and making the perfect square, now they're just going to round them off a little bit, take those broken edges and turn them into the cushion shape, and they've just invented a new design. Now though, since we're not working with the square anymore, you can't just have 4 main facets. They've added triangles to border the table and also border the girdle. This is the old mine cuts, and this is really the first time that we're getting something that today we would really see as a predecessor to today's modern brilliance. It has all the same components, main facets, star facets, break facets, and then the same on the bottom. So if we jump all the way up to the last one, this is our modern round brilliant. We've got 57 facets, the table. It's got all the same facets that the old mine cut had, but now we've invented brooding technology.
Yeah.
So this is like the 1890s. We can take 2 diamonds and basically rub them together like this. They become round. And then what's happening here is the proportions are becoming finalized. You know, we have modern science, optics, you know, all these different things that are informing us about how light reflects and how light works, and you can see they've figured out exactly how to get the most out of the diamond between light and fire.
Yeah, this one jumped out at me.
We've had this cut for about 100 years and it hasn't really changed that much. Now people are actually starting to look back at some of these vintage styles
and get a little new, yeah.
And especially the old mine cut has almost come back into style, but as an antique cut.
Awesome.
So shall we see a little bit more?
Let's go. Oh, that's a lot.
These are stones that me or my wife cut. So my wife is also a gem cutter, and we've been cutting stones and selling them for about 5 or 6 years now. So this is a Umba sapphire. So it, like the Xandrite, it's got some color change properties. Let's look at this one next. This is also an Umba sapphire, but with a totally different design idea. So the one that we saw before was one that Victoria did. This is one that I did. And so in the last year, I've been also trying to play with new design styles. So this is a 7-sided design that I invented, and I've been playing with odd-sided geometries because odd-sided stones, like a trillion, are always brighter than an even-sided stone. Yeah. So if you have a pattern of 8 or 4, you know, we're thinking about the light path. It's going to come in, it's going to hit the bottom of the stone, it's going to bounce and come back up.
Okay.
That's a normal light path for a good cut stone. When you have an odd-sided stone, you've got light coming in a flat side, and then there's a pointy side opposite. And you can see this one, there's a flat side here, and opposite's a pointy side. And all of the sides are like that because it's odd. So the light comes in one side, and then when it hits the pointy side, it actually splits into 2 because it's hitting an intersection right there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I've been wanting to play with odd-sided designs, and 5-sided is something that we kind of see. We do see it on the market, but I never saw a 7-sided stone. So I had to get a custom gear made for my faceting machine because the 7 doesn't divide evenly into our normal gear. It's a simple design. I've made it to be very commercially accessible. I want to be able to cut it in 3 hours, so I can cut 2 or 3 a day if I want to. But it's super bright, it's very sparkly, and it's actually quite simple.
So these are really cool, but I think you have more.
Yeah, I do.
Let's go. Ooh!
So these are our science experiments for the day.
Oh, I love science.
These are sample sets that we made for our school, and they show some interesting things that we have to deal with as cutters.
Okay.
Just put them in your hand and see if you can tell what's my goal here. What am I trying to show?
Oh boy. Brilliance?
I'll give you a hint. Same material, same size, same crown, and there's something wrong with one of them.
Okay, so what I'm noticing is the pavilion here comes to a point, like a straight point, whereas this one has kind of a taper.
Yeah, so this one is going to be much taller. That one's flatter, right? So if you flip them over and just look at them face up, you can see this one, when we look right into the middle of the stone, it's sparkly and it's colorful, and this one, when we look right into the middle of the stone, it looks grayed out because there's a window.
A window.
And so if we if we take the stones and we put them against the paper with some letters, so if you notice the one that's on the right, it looks perfectly red, it's sparkling all the way through. The one that's on the left, we can see some of the letters through it, right? You can see what's behind it.
Yeah.
That's what we call a window. So the window is exactly what it sounds like. It's like in your house. You're looking out the window, you see what's through the window. But in a gemstone, we don't want the gemstone to be a window.
We want the light to go straight through there.
Yeah, we want it to be a mirror, right? So the light goes in, it absorbs color, it comes back as the color that we see, and it comes to our eyes. So we need a mirror. So it's my job to make sure that I know for each one of these stones, for each material, there's a different angle that that stone needs.
Yeah.
So for instance, this one is a synthetic sapphire. Sapphire needs about 35 degrees in order to make that mirror on the bottom.
Okay.
So if I cut this, and that's what I did on this one, if I cut this at like 30 degrees, we've gone under the critical angle, it's too flat, and we're not getting that mirroring effect.
Yeah.
So a lot of stones that you'll see in the market, you might notice this, there's a lot of stones that are windowed because either the cutter doesn't understand which angles to use, or maybe the stone was too flat and they just try to keep the biggest stone that they could.
Yeah.
And we want to turn them from something that's leaking light and not reflecting all the color that it could to something like this that is a full reflection, full color, full sparkle, full of life. So that's one science project to show you what the window really looks like and what's the difference. And we can see very clearly, you know, it's about the height, it's about the proportions of the bottom, and it's about the angles. Now, if we switch over to this set, use your gemological knowledge and see if you can figure out what I'm trying to show here. And I'll give you one hint. All three of these stones are synthetic sapphire cut from the exact same boule.
Okay. Well, what I'm noticing here is some pleochroism.
Yes. So this is our pleochroism set. So pleochroism is a stone that has more than one color. So in the case of sapphire, we've got two colors, and in the way that the crystal grows, we've got them crossed like this. So you're going to have one color here, one color here.
So you cut kind of right on the optic axis
exactly.
there.
So we wanted to cut a cube that would be perfectly on axis so that when you turned the cube, you would be able to see perfectly the two different colors. Now, in real life, when we look at a natural sapphire or any pleochroic stone, it's usually not like that.
Yeah.
You know, sapphires aren't cubes; they are balls.
Like,
generally, they're bulbous, rounded shapes.
Barrels, sometimes I like to say.
So, you know, we don't usually get to see them this clear. So what we can see here is a more purpley side, and then if you flip it, we're going to see the orange side.
Yeah.
So then, as the cutter, we have the option of do we cut on the purple side, do we cut on the orange side, or do we blend them? What I'm trying to show you here is the same thing we saw in here. I cut one of these on one axis, one on the other.
I noticed this one's screaming like
it's
kind of burgundy-ish.
Yeah, it's a lot more red, and this one's a lot more orange or peachy almost.
Yeah.
So if we put these two side by side, you can kind of see the color difference.
Yeah. How'd you get into this?
So I used to be a musician, and when I was about to turn 30, I just decided this isn't working for me anymore. I've given 15 years of my life to music.
Hard to get gigs.
And I thought, okay, I've got other creative interests, I've got other opportunities, so I said, okay, I'm not going to do music anymore. I'm just going to be a clean slate, and let me just let me just see what the world brings me. And strangely enough, it brought me into this. I met a friend in California that took me to a gem show. I had never seen that before, and when I saw the faceted stones at the show, I was just like, oh my God, what is that? How do they do that?
You gotta watch out for those gem shows. They're hypnotic.
Yeah, they're potentially addictive.
Okay, so you've put something on the table.
Something big.
It is not a box. I wonder what it is.
What do you think?
Let's look. I knew it.
So
wow.
So this is the tool that does all of that beautiful work.
This is your office.
Yeah, this is my portable station. So this is my faceting machine, and I'm guessing, since you're here in America, this is probably not the machine that you've really seen before.
This is not the one that I'm familiar with.
Right. This is called the handpiece machine.
Okay.
Because we've got this removable handpiece right here. So this has all the same features as an American machine. It's just laid out in a different way. So instead of having a big arm up here that holds the stone, I've actually got this removable handpiece.
Okay. Is this called the index gear?
Exactly. That is the index gear.
Gotcha.
So the index gear is one of my controls. So that lets me turn the stone. And if you push that little white button down right here, you can see that you can turn it.
Okay.
And this allows you to change your index.
So is this the piece you had to get custom made to do the odd sided?
So that gear comes off. And this red bit right here is wax that's on my dop stick. So that's where the stone goes. Okay. So I will wax the stone onto there, and that attaches it. So that holds the stone. And then if you flip it over, my second control is going to be here. That's my angle. So you can see all these numbers going from 0 to 90. And if you loosen this knob right there, that will allow you to move the head.
It feels so just perfectly.
Yeah,
it glides perfectly.
It's so smooth.
And I assume you have to have a lot of precision with machines like this because...
So you have to pick exactly the angle that you want or need, and then there'll be some adjusting from there.
Wow.
So you can lock that one. That's my second control. So far we're rotating the stone and we're changing the angle. The third control that we need is depth, and that's actually on the machine.
Oh, wow.
So if we put this on here,
raises it up.
yeah, this raises up and lowers the plate, so you can see it's going up and going down.
So is this does this have like a certain measurement, or do you set it once?
No, it's by eye. It's really just me and the stone and the lap, and I'm using those three controls to manipulate what I need to do, but all I really look at is the stone, and I'm looking at the geometry and seeing how the facets, get bigger or get taller, and make sure that everything's balanced and symmetrical, but all of it is done just by my own hand control with this thing and, adjusting the controls as I need.
All right, let's go. Ooh, okay. Ooh.
So this is another science project set. So if you can't tell already, what I'm trying to show you here is what does the actual effect of the cut do? So this was a project that I did when I had a bunch of extra time. It took a couple of months to do this. So what we're seeing here is two stones. It's a synthetic spinel in a light blue, synthetic spinel in a dark blue, and I've cut each one of those stones into 25 pieces, so it's all the same boule.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't want any variables here.
Yeah.
So these are the exact same material.
Yeah.
And they're cut in totally different ways. So the one that you're holding is an emerald cut, so that's a step cut on the top, a step cut on the bottom, which means all rectangular facets.
Yeah.
The one on the left is a cushion shape, same proportions, but we've got a brilliant cut on top and a step cut on the bottom. And I hope that you notice that the reflection pattern and the color is very different.
Yes, it is, and it also varies by like very minimal movements.
Yeah. So the whole idea behind choosing a different design is what I call about invoking the mood, right?
Yeah.
You're giving it a different kind of sparkle pattern, you're giving it a different reflection pattern, and you're changing the way that the stone feels when the viewer looks at it. So for instance, the emerald cut, it's all rectangles. It's very blocky, it's very geometric.
Yeah.
It's great for showing color, but it doesn't have a lot of sparkle to it. So if we change the top of the stone into a brilliant cut top, we have all these triangles that are on top of all those rectangles, and we're getting a very interesting, dynamic change. We need to choose a pattern that's going to work well for the stone.
Yeah.
If we've got a really dark stone, we might want to choose an emerald cut because it has big facets and it's going to bring, a big flash of color. If we have a medium tone stone and we really want to bring out, fire or dispersion or just give it a bunch of really animated life, we might choose something like this or even a full brilliant cut. I love the fact that I've been able to go so deep into the science and figure out all this stuff, and then eventually this turned into a book that we published 2 years ago.
Oh, cool.
So we've basically taken all of these designs, which are the typical designs that we see used in the gem trade, and turned it into a design book. So if you want to learn gem cutting and you want to be able to cut all these, you can take our book and it has every single design inside of it that is the jewelry trade necessities.
So on this channel, we take a closer look, and I think I want to take a closer look at this pleochroism set.
Okay.
I love pleochroism. It's like magic in a gemstone, so let's take a closer look. So I heard someone gave you a little present, a little thing to work on. What do you have here?
It's a big, beautiful piece of moldavite coming from the Czech Republic, and I saw this and I just thought it already has such a cool geometric outline that I wanted to do something special with this one.
Okay. Justin's going to take this home and he's going to facet it, and next time he comes and sees us, we're going to see what the result is.
Yeah, and maybe you're even going to get a little glimpse inside of the cutting process and see me cut a little bit of this. So you can actually see what we've been talking about here in action.
That's going to be awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Justin. It was really awesome. I loved seeing all the stuff that you brought. Guys, make sure you go check out his YouTube channel, Justin K. Prim.
Yep.
And give him a subscribe. Put down in the comments what cut you think he's going to cut out of this chunk of moldavite. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks for watching.